So, yeah, everything's rolling now. And so now we're going to just do a big... No, that's... No, it's one person.
Oh.
Sorry. Damn.
This will be
This is going great. This is going great.
This will be the intro.
This is amazing.
This is our team.
Yes. All right. 18th sticks. All right, cool. That way I can sync up the audio with all these ridiculous devices. This is our Get Taped 2023 year in review.
Yes.
Yeah.
We made it.
First time that all 5 of us have shared the screen simultaneously.
Yeah.
Usually it's just my mug doing these videos. Mm-hmm. So thank you, everyone, staff, for being here. Not that you had a choice.
You're welcome. Yeah.
So
We're locked in here.
Don't look
we live
underneath
here.
the table with their shackles. Got it.
this is the first break they've had in a whole year. But speaking of the year, I think we'll just start with sort of addressing the obvious, which was a very off the beaten path year. Not very normal. It was unique.
Yeah.
But other than unique, let's just go around the table. We'll start with Brooke. And if you could sum up 2023 in a word or a phrase, positive or negative, what would you say, Brooke?
I'm going to say freedom.
Freedom.
Do I have to go into depth as to why?
You don't? No. I mean, if you want to.
I feel like I should have, some painting on my face. Freedom. I think there was a lot of freedom that came by way of things that weren't very fun. But I took the path of freedom and allowed us to go on some trips. And we have fabulous employees that were able to kind of give me the freedom. I had a rough year, but we won't go into that as far as other sad things. But I had the freedom to explore my stuff.
Yay.
Yeah.
I like that. Now, Sarah, what about you?
I think I have 2 words: patience and timing. I think that this year has taught me a lot of patience, and also certain things have happened this year in the perfect timing. I thought I wanted them to happen at a certain point, and like when I finally just like let them go and let them happen as they should, they just kind of fell into place. And I'm like still teaching myself patience every day. But yeah, the long break and just timing of things happening when they should. This feels like a good theme for this year.
I like that.
That's great. Katy.
My word of the year I had figured out last year was space. And it was an interesting word because I was like, I don't really know what this is going to mean, but I think it's going to be about like inhabiting new spaces or having space from something. And I didn't know there'd be a strike. So it was literally space from the industry, but also I moved. So there was a new space. And I think space from like giving myself space to actually acknowledge what was happening this year. I think during COVID, because I moved down from New York, I worked really hard to just stuff all that down and be like, just keep moving forward, just keep going. And this year, I think I sat with the disappointment of kind of the stalled time and acknowledged it more, which was definitely healthier. Yeah, and just allowing the space around that, being like, that's just what it is.
Nice.
Corey.
Man, I haven't given this much thought, but in my Matthew McConaughey voice, I'll say living is my thing. I feel like I did the cardinal sin as an actor of I went too far into just the acting space, and I was just like devoted completely to acting, and I wasn't really living. And this year helped me with that, whether it be like getting a regular job for it was like a month and a half, and then
But you did it.
yeah, and then
A summer job.
yeah,
Yeah.
summer job, yeah. And then just I experienced so much this year, which was very cool and helped me grow as a person, and I am very grateful for everything that happened this year. Even the strike, because it helped me get that time that I needed.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was very appreciative of it, actually.
Totally.
I would say sort of almost what you were saying, Katy. My word for the year that I thought was going to be build, like building career, building, maybe get taped up more. And although upon reflection, I could try to force that into working, but I think more it was efficiency with the strike, having to become more efficient personally when it came to expenditures and finances and how to use your time. But also as a business to make sure that we navigated that storm and came out the other side. making sure that we pivoted and positioned ourselves. Took a lot of efficiency. I've also been listening to way too much Huberman, which basically is all about efficiency and living your life in a more optimized, efficient manner. So I think for me, to kind of to avoid saying dumpster fire in terms of what the industry was, and not to say that the strike wasn't needed, but just in terms of how our expectations of a fruitful year were met with the sort of the smack in the face of 6 months of no work. And so even though it was not that busy of a year overall, I know people who come to get taped who sort of ask for the scuttlebutt, not to overuse the word that we use for our newsletter.
Yeah, what is the scuttlebutt?
But they recognize that we as a staff maybe know more about the industry overall than they do individually. I'll just put you on the spot, Ja'Cory. What has working at Get Taped done for you as an actor?
That's a good question. I'll say it showed me what not to do in the case of people are not relaxed. I noticed that a lot coming here is that, and I think that has a lot to do with preparation, and I'm guilty of that at times too. But when you're prepared and you're confident in who you are and what you're bringing to the table in this character, I think that's all you need to worry about. You know, so many people come in here and they're just like, I think this is what they want, or what do they want? And if you just come in and shoot your movie, I think that's all that matters, because at the end of the day, if you shoot your movie and they cast you, then it's like, okay, I can come in and now you want to make the thing that I want to make, so let's go. And if you don't cast me, I hope you find a person that does want to make your movie. You know, and I'm on to the next thing.
That's so
I
wonderful.
love that.
Yeah.
Shoot your movie.
That's really
So
good.
What about you, Katie? You're, I mean, at this point, all we look at you as all the same, even though people do literally confuse
They
Sarah
do.
and Katie.
I wonder why.
It's so strange.
But
I answer to Sarah. As you.
I'll take this one.
She can sit back.
but like, even though you're the newest staff member at this point, it's
Yeah.
it's all to us. It feels like you've all been here forever, maybe in a weird way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe too long.
Yeah.
We don't remember what it was like before having
Yeah.
support staff.
Such a gift.
But Katie, what about you? Because you work as a coach and you teach, and of course being an actress well before coming here. What changed for you in terms of working at a taping service?
Yeah, I tell people in my classes, I tell everyone I also work at Get Taped, and how I became a better actor at Get Taped, for sure. I think the thing that I feel like being a reader gives you is the perspective, because you don't have the pressure. Like I tell my students this idea of like, you're in the painting. So you can't see the colors that are in the painting, but if I'm outside of the painting, I can see it and see like, oh, it might need a little bit more blue. And that's not on you. That's not your fault. It's not like you're stupid. It's just like, I can see the painting. And I feel like that's an easier way to do it to think about it. And so as the reader, a lot of times we see like kind of the overall, like what's going on. And so I agree with what Ja'Cory said about like relaxation. I also just think it gave me this perspective of like, if you're right for the role, it doesn't matter how many people are reading for it. I think people come in a lot of times with like, how many people have you seen for this? And I'm like, that has no bearing on what you're about to do and the work you're going to do. And when I see someone who I'm just like, oh, that, whether or not they get cast, because like we don't know what that is, but I'll be like, that was beautiful. Just like what you brought to it. Like, it just feels so, there's like I feel like holy moment when it all comes together. And I feel very honored to witness that as the reader. Yeah.
Brooke and I can definitely sympathize with that idea of seeing the person and based on what you know to be true about the role in the project, you're just thinking, if there's any justice in this industry,
Yes.
they will book it.
They should book this.
There
Yeah.
have been times where, we do everything we can, especially if we have multiple people working, to not tape an actor for the same role we're reading for. And that's just one of our sort of built-in policies, because we don't want anybody feeling like it's a conflict of interest. Although, just like you said, it's never a conflict of interest when you realize that I cannot approximate what Ja'Cory brings to the table any more than he can do my foghorn leghorn impersonation.
I as much as he
Yes.
wants
Yeah.
to.
But there are times whether someone else taped them and I just happened to see their read, or I was in the position to have to read someone after I've recorded my own audition for the same role, and I go, oh, like I get perspective,
Yes.
Yeah.
not necessarily on how they did it and that I should go back and try to retape and copy them, but more so that by watching their read through that objective lens and watching the very character I just auditioned for, maybe earlier that day, I see things that I didn't see when I was in it. And now that I'm looking at that painting from afar, it is fascinating to see the perspective you can get. Yeah, so I totally agree. I think that's a great thing to point out.
Yeah.
Another thing that I've noticed, and I'm pretty sure anybody who works at a taping service would realize too, is that because you're taping so many people for so many different roles, you start to get the whole picture of like an episode.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
it's like, oh, okay, I see what's going on
Yes.
here.
Put the pieces together.
Yes.
Yeah. So if I'm auditioning for something, I'm like, well, I got the whole context
Yeah.
now, so the whole episode
That's a
now.
gift.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
That's
that's
a
definitely
gift.
a gift.
Yeah.
That's maybe the one of the unfair advantages to being on that inside is you get to build the whole story, and especially if it's before you end up getting submitted for a role, and then it's like, oh, well, now that I have seen everything, I kind of get it. What about you, Sarah? Anything that sticks out?
Well, I second definitely the magic of seeing someone come in and they're fully themselves and they just fully align with the character and like seeing it and you're like, this is who you should cast.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite part of working here is like just seeing people like come alive and like have a perfect part for them and seeing them book it. But one of the things that I've learned the most, I think, is how much freedom we actually have. Kind of going back to your word. I used to think there were so many rules about, I'm like, it has to be like this framing, or you can't use any props, or like, can't we bring a table in? I have to wear this certain shirt or whatever. And seeing people come in and kind of make things their own, and be like, I think I'm going to sit in this, or do you think we can make the frame a little bit wider? Or like, I'm going to add a couple lines here. Not saying you should do that, but just like making it their own and kind of allowing yourself that like creative freedom. And watching it in other people has inspired me to make my auditions my own and realize like that's actually what they want. They want you to bring yourself to it and your own ideas, not just like try to fit into this mold. So that's been really fun to see, just like things I never even thought of like lowering the lights or flickering the lights during something. It's just like all these fun ideas that I wouldn't have if I didn't see people do it here at Get Tapes.
Yeah.
So.
What you broke?
Well, I go back a fair ways with taping. And so, as far as the journey of back in 2010 and before, when I was taping out of my apartment, to see people actually, this might sound strange, but people don't actually utilize their time properly. And that's something that when I did it in my apartment for a flat rate and people would stay for an hour, and I'm like, this is fun, we're playing with this. But then it's now that we're efficient and everything should be efficient, I see people not necessarily maximizing the time that they have. Even though we've shrunk the time and you book a certain amount of time, that there is a question of how do you want to use this? Is your time. This is not my time. I'm not here to I'm not here for the show. I'm here for you as the person who's auditioning. And I just had someone recently come in and they said, it was very kind of them to say, that they feel like it's just fun when they come here. And that's the type of maximizing the time. Like, you're here to play. It is playful. It is experiential. It is your time. And yet I feel like there's an objective of this is time as opposed to I'm going to make use of my time. Yeah. But I just feel like there's a lack of understanding time, an abuse of time, and also a fulfilling of time when people, like, there's those three categories that I see.
Yeah. I think we all agree that there are those moments, and we'll get to our naughty list in a second.
Don't worry.
But where the hour can go by, and it's the actors purely having fun, and that experience with them it feels collaborative, and this is, and you start to understand why cast directors do want to work with the same actors over and over again, and producers or directors do want to keep direct booking the same actors or at least calling them back each time, because you go, wow, like just when you're in the room, it's a sense of collaboration and fun. And then there are actors who get stuck in the fear mindset or the lack mindset. And so then that becomes what I think we're known for here, which is providing a safe space that even if you're not at your best, whatever's going on internally and whatever's going on outside of these doors, we will provide that, that space where you can feel comfortable. So often people come in, and I think the acoustics in here help, but first timers will just say, wow, I really like it here.
Yeah.
It feels really fill in the blank, safe, comfortable,
Judgment-free.
Yeah, judgment-free. And so while we're happy to do that, it's those other times too that we really enjoy when someone comes in and you just know this is going to be a playful hour or 20 minutes or whatever, and you kind of almost want it to keep going. Like that's it. Just those.
You want to do one more take?
Just those 7 scenes. We don't have them. we
So
don't have
real.
them here.
Yeah.
Which now with the new contract, it'd only be 5 or 7 pages. Of
Yeah.
Yeah, and the playing is not necessarily just for happy scenes. Like I can think specifically of a time where I think you were here too, but we had several people come in for it was a really sad scene, and I was looking forward to it so much because everyone brought just beautiful portrayals to each of these scenes, and I cried in every single person's tape for different reasons, but I had the best time because it was like they were playing and we were playing in that world. Yeah, it was so fun.
I feel like it gives you a glimpse into what a casting director, like if every actor is just like bringing their authentic self and like really committing themselves to the art, like how fun that is to just watch someone do their art and like just to be a witness to it.
Yeah. I'll forget what
It's
time it is.
beautiful. Yeah.
Like, oh, your time's up.
Yeah, it's like a flow state. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, that's so true.
So I have a list of the naughty actors that I'd like to.
Great.
It's time.
It's time.
That makes me think of, I don't know, there's not really a question here, just maybe a discussion point of the appropriateness of the reader and how we try to, if it's a male and a female that day, we try to give you the option of the reader that you choose. Sometimes people do even request ahead of time, hey, if I can have a male reader. And when we can, we will, of course, try to accommodate that. But I find, maybe speak to the challenges of like when I'm walking back and reading a script cold that they've just handed me, and I'm like, oh. And whether it's because I'm playing, the 12-year-old and I have to find my Sarah energy because she's not there that
The
day.
resident kid reader.
Yeah.
Or Sarah's working alone and she's having to be the gruff grandpa.
Or like
the FBI agent.
we're coming in. That's always my. I get pumped about that.
Jacory, what's the worst or the hardest character that you have to embody as a reader?
Me and a buddy of mine, we had there was definitely a sex scene. There was some some things happening in the scene, and I had to give that energy, and we went there.
I have flirted more with Sarah than
I
ever have flirted. I've been like, sorry about it.
We've fallen in love so many times.
many
on
times.
screen. Yeah.
And we fully understand that sometimes, given the option, you would rather not have it the appropriate person, because if it is a male that you're flirting with, oftentimes you're like, I'll take Sarah, because it's easier to do the make believe and to not have that possible weirdness with that other human, knowing that it's fully make believe with this other person.
I do notice sometimes, though, some people choose to then not look at us on some of those. Like they'll decide to look at the other eye line. And the only thing about that is like then you just lose out the human connection. But I understand if that's easier for the scene. So people will just kind of, if they need a different eye line, they can use that.
I was giving full eye contact during my.
You're like, I was committed.
You're like, I'm here.
I'm in
I was in
this.
it.
I know people will like ask you if they need, they'll ask you if they need someone intimidating. They'll specifically be like, I need to read with that.
Yeah, when it is the FBI or the kicking down the door. Although I refused to make eye contact with Jacory just recently, not for it being dramatic, but because I knew if I looked at him, we'd both break character. Because it was a comedic scene and I was doing some silliness, and so sometimes it is appropriate to look at the other eye line.
Yeah.
just to salvage the scene. What about you, Brooke? What's the worst type of character that, or it gives you the most grief or the most challenge?
Um, I succeeded all of them, so
course.
I don't feel like I really do. I mean, in all seriousness, I'm willing to go wherever it needs to go. I think in the early parts of me being a reader for other people, I didn't want to offend anyone. If there was language in it, we were talking about this earlier. I just didn't feel like I needed to be that person to bring the language to it or slangs to it because that's just not who I am personally. But then when I realized that that's not helping the person who's actually here for the scene, the words are on the paper for a reason. Then I let that go and said, this is not about me. This is about being there for the person who we're seeing partners. And at that point, I can't be judgmental of even the character that I'm reading on the opposite end, even if there are 5 characters that I'm reading all off camera. I really enjoy the multiple character thing personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really do. I find it to be exhilarating.
Yeah. There are times where I've joked after we're about to watch playback. I'm like, I feel good about my read. And while I'm joking to kind of add some levity to the moment, there's an element of truth of like, yeah, I just nailed those.
Yeah.
Nailed that.
four
And
characters.
then when they're like, I liked the other one, and you're like, no, but it's about me. My read was so much better.
I mispronounced the word on
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
But speaking of stumbles, I do find it interesting. Certainly, Brooke and I have had this discussion many times, but I think even as a staff, we've had it where there are times when an actor stumbles or doesn't do their plan perfectly in that take, and yet that very real moment where they deviated from their plan, either they had a brain fart on a line or just something happened, maybe even like their cell phone went off and it just caused a distraction, but in that moment something very real happens, and then you're as a reader going, that was real life, that was good. And then I totally get it. As the actor, even after watching back, even if they kind of like it, they're thinking, well, but it's a self-tape. Won't they think, why didn't they just do it again? Why didn't they fix that? Especially if it's a line flub.
Yeah.
And I think, I know I've struggled, I'm sure all of us have, with that, where you're like, you really want to convince them of that other take, the one that has the flub, and yet that's the most organic and real and free. But, we don't ever, it's why we don't sort of say that we offer coaching, because we don't want to then be the one who's the final say on someone's take. We do try to pass that ownership to them.
Not in 20 minutes.
Not in 20s. Yeah, I'm not coaching or teaching you how to act or I'll talk you off the ledge in 20 minutes
Sure.
from thinking that you're crap, because so many actors do get into that negative spiral, especially watching themselves back. But yeah, that's in the end, we do want that ownership, because when you leave here, we don't want you getting home and having more doubts. We want you to have that ownership that you picked the right take, you did what you set out to do, and then there's always the next one.
I have seen, going on that topic, I've seen, because we've been in this industry, the self-taping world for so long, I've seen people get a lot more confident at, I'm choosing that take, I'm choosing this take, when earlier on in the nebulousness of what is self-tape, and they're going to expect that I get it right. I have the time, or I can change it to make it better. But I really do feel like people are now picking those ones that have those real moments. They're like, as much as I know this one's perfect, I really do, there's something about that other one, and it makes my heart sing, because I feel like actors need to take ownership of their of what they're putting out there and say, this is the one I want to use, as opposed to saying, Ja'Cory, what do you think? Which one should I? Which one? Which one should I? Yeah.
17.
Great. Thanks. I just need an answer.
Yeah.
Well, it's like one of the few things that we actually can control. And I think sometimes as actors, we feel like everything's out of our control. We're so used to people telling us where to go and what to do and taking all these acting classes. And it's actually like very powerful to be like, this is the one thing that I can take ownership of. Like, this can be mine for today. This is the decision I can make.
Yeah, I think it's great, to look at self-tapes instead of all the negative stuff that can come with it of not being in the room. Although with the new contract, there are these rights that we now have to request Zoom or in-person auditions. But mostly it'll still be self-tapes, and people like to find all the negatives and all the downsides. maybe sort of speak broadly as we wrap this up about moving forward into a new year. What encouragement we could give actors, like looking at it as a powerful representation of. I heard a casting director once say, "It's the only time you have full control over your performance." The minute you get a callback or a redirect, you're now collaborating, which is what we're looking for,
Sure.
right? We like to collaborate, but there's that difference between being desperate for validation through feedback versus collaboration, where it's you building something together. And I think some actors think they want to collaborate, but really they're just desperate for that validation or that feedback. But if we can change that mindset to look at self-tapes as this positive, powerful thing, I think it can help actors navigate this industry a little bit better. But anything else that anybody has in terms of words of wisdom or encouragement for actors moving into the next year, because it's going to get busy.
Yeah.
We assume, we hope, as this backlog of projects starts to finally make its way into our inboxes. So any words of wisdom?
Don't rush a good thing.
Mm.
Yeah, don't rush a good thing. Allow yourself to sit in the good thing. And if you come in and you feel good about your audition, let that sink in. That's good stuff. And I think that even those moments it's really just our art coming through and our humanity being seen, and we are fully there, and just to be present, but just to not rush a good thing.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that too. Piggyback off of that, the thing that I thought of was most good things take time. In that sometimes I think we want something right now, or we want this audition, or we want to be a series regular right now. And it's like, actually, we want this career to be a marathon. We want it to last our whole lifetime. And that, let's take it slow. And the things that you want to happen, they'll probably happen. They just might not happen in the time that you think that they should. And just relax it, knowing that it might take you a couple of years to get the thing that you want, but that's good. And that means that you've worked towards it and that you've earned it. Not saying that people don't become stars overnight, because they do.
Yeah.
But I think most good things take time, and to not squeeze the living daylights out of one opportunity, and that it'll just happen the way that it's supposed to.
I think I would say just remember the times where you were dreaming for the place that you are right now. I think back to when I was in New York, and I would have killed for the auditions that I get here in Atlanta. I would have killed for the television auditions, for being oh yeah, I was seen for that blank movie with this blank, big director. All of that was very far outside of my reach at the time. And I think sometimes it's very easy for me when I get into a space of hurry and a space of I have so many things due, that I'm oh, well, I have a one line, so let me just, I got to throw this one away, and just and I forget that there was a time where I would have just, little Katy would have been you get to audition for a TV show? That's the dream. So remembering that, myself, even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, definitely when I was a kid, was this was, being an actor for a living was the dream.
Yeah.
And I'm currently in it. It's not when I'm a series regular, it's now. Now's the dream. So just being gosh, remember that, which is very hard. It's easy to say, but that's what I would say.
It's good.
Oh, great answers, guys. Man.
Bring us home.
Oh, man. I think everybody here knows my work ethic and knows this type of stuff I do outside of here. So I would say to everybody else, stay ready so you don't got to get ready. We got a couple weeks before the new year, and we all kind of see it's about to get crazy. So you got time to put in the work, so that when that time does come, you're confident in what you're doing.
Yeah.
So stay ready so you don't got to get ready.
Yeah, your work ethic is impeccable and really inspiring.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about me.
Well, I was gonna say, even during the strike, I feel you were still putting stuff on tape. You were you practice monologues in here. You don't let it get, rusty. And I think that's really cool, because I think so often people just get to the point where the audition is it. It's the only time they're acting. And it's no wonder you're frustrated. Because we're not meant to just do
No.
an audition,
Yeah, I think to tie it all together, slowing down and getting ready and all these things that we're talking about, I just talked about in the last video that I posted on our channel that about this book I'm reading called Deep Work, and it's really illuminating to see how, as a culture, not just because of social media, but slowly as technology has gotten faster, our ability to actually slow down and get deep and find a flow state has been severely hampered. It's not rewarded, even though it's needed for every industry to be able to slow down and get deep into a task. It's tough. You know, that's the fight that I think we're all facing is how do I avoid all of the tiny distractions that are pulling for my attention. I mean, heck, here at Get Taped, we're going from one actor to another all day long. We are living a very fractured life as tapers, auditions, and I think there's an encouragement there to first of all realize that it is hard work. This industry is not given to anybody. Even the people who are overnight successes, a lot of them crash and burn very quickly because they didn't have the work ethic to back it up. And so it's like who they know maybe got them there, but then what they knew didn't keep them there. 'Cause that's the old saying, right? Who you know will get you there. What you know will keep you there.
Yes.
And it's so like you're saying, Ja'Cory, get ready now so that when that opportunity does come, going back to something one of you said earlier, like you don't walk in nervous, you don't walk in fearful. You've done the work to make sure that you are ready for that opportunity, and but to not let that be this, even though that it is a burden because it's going to take a lot of effort, to not look at it that way. Look at it as I've been recently doing, not your to-do list, but your get-to-do list. Like it's something that because I've chosen this to be my life's work, I get to I get to choose.
Yeah.
I get to get taped. And to look at that, you know, to try to, it seems like such a silly mindset flip, but it works to just say, oh, I get to do this because so much of our anxiety is on things that are optional in our lives. Like we have placed the anxiety on ourselves, the to-do list that we do create that then we feel burdened by. I'm very guilty of that. But I've literally started writing get to do. And it does change the mindset ever so slightly. So that even though I've got like 25 things I'm trying to accomplish, there's a different mindset of approaching it that helps cultivating that hard work ethic. So yeah, so I hope it's fruitful for everyone in 2024.
I hope so too.
So thank you for the first staff year in
Yes.
review. Like or comment if you liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
Subscribe.
Smash that subscribe.
Smash that
Subscribe.
button.
See you next time.
Keeping that in.
Noisy. Mic drop.
Boom.
Because that's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't need to damage our equipment.
Yeah.
Podcast New Year.
Yeah. Whoever you listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
But I will say this: thank you so much for supporting this channel, but also supporting our endeavors to make things positive and to bring news to those who just are wanting to know what's going on. And we get a gift. We give a gift, and I just want to thank you for your support. And if you do come to Get Taped, we love you. And there's no one on the naughty list.
No.
And speaking of, there's literally someone about to come in
Oh,
about
yeah.
2 minutes. So
Great.
around those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Bye.
Bye.